Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, October 7, 2023, and I'm very excited to present our guest presenter, Karen Meyer. And basically, I'm just going to turn it over to her. She'll introduce herself and tell you a little bit about herself, and then she will take it away and conduct the class. And then when she's finished, Karen, just a heads up to me, I'll probably know you're finished, but you can just say, and that concludes my presentation, and then I'll come back on the screen and I'll take it from there. So Karen, take it away.
Thank you very much, Susan. And thank you for allowing me to stand in for you with your sessions, your monthly sessions. It's a great privilege for me, and it's been a pleasure working with you, Susan, in bringing this month's October's session. You were my tutor at Novato, and you've always been there supporting me in my endeavours to bring Hannah Somatic movement to the very north of England. So I thank you very much for that, Susan. You're always there. And I'm based near Hadrian's Wall, which isn't too far away from the border between England and Scotland. And I'm going to be in today's session for this October is about your exploration more, you're exploring more about your relationship with the ground, how the positioning in your feet and the movement of your feet, the movement in your pelvis, your spine, and your head enable you to walk freely and smoothly and with minimum effort. And in this exploration, we are going to be going with the forwards and the backwards movement in the spine, the side-to-side movement in your spine, and the rotation in your spine. And we're going to relate that standing upright. We're going to be starting walking, and we're going to, and then standing, and then from there coming down to lying down and exploring those relationships whilst you're lying down. And then at the end of the session, we're going to come back up to standing again, and for you to feel where there may be any small differences from there compared to at the beginning of the session. So for this session, you will need some free space to be able to walk 5 or 6 steps, if that's possible, in the space that you have available. If it isn't absolutely necessary, but if you do have the space, that's great. Also, if you have some free wall as well, if you would like to do your standing part next to a wall, if you feel more confident that way. And the other materials you will need are support for underneath you, for underneath your head, your shoulders, your underside of your pelvis in particular. And as well as lying on your front, you're also going to be lying on your back. So whilst you're lying on your front, you may like to have some extra support in the way of hand towels to go underneath the side of your cheek or underneath the front of your shoulder. You may also like to roll the towel to go underneath your fronts of your ankles, and you may like some extra support underneath the front of your pelvis as it's making contact with the floor. So these are all it's nice to have these extra supports to hand. If you don't use them, then that's absolutely fine, but they're there to hand, just in case you need them. So we'll just spend a few moments for you all to be able to gather together the support and the extra support that you may need. And if you need to move things a little bit in your space, then spend a little bit of time doing that at the beginning of the session. So let's begin with walking. And just walk very casually around your space that you have. You may like to alter your pace a little bit. And in walking, this is giving you the perfect self-knowledge of your balance. You are displacing and bringing yourself back into balance again. You have a very sophisticated vestibular system in your inner ear, which responds to changes of the position of your head. It senses and informs you as you are changing and moving, changing your position and moving. It informs you of where you are in space. It responds to changes in the position of your head. Feel where your head is as you are walking in relation to the rest of your spine. Feel the movement in your pelvis. And you may like to bring your attention to your pelvis. You have a left hip bone and a right hip bone, and you may like to feel how the movement in your pelvis is as you are walking. And feel how you are positioning your feet. How are your feet making contact with the floor? And very slowly and carefully bring yourself to standing. As you are standing, you are in a dynamic balance. You are in equilibrium. Your brain is preoccupied with countering the downward pull of gravity. And there is an appropriate balance of tone between your muscles, your extensor muscles of your back, and your flexor muscles of your front. And you are being kept in a nice, free balance as you are standing. Feel how your feet are making contact with the ground. The underside of your feet have a rich collection of sensors which respond to pressure, and they can detect whether you're shifting your weight within your feet and between your feet. Very slowly shift your weight in the direction of your toes, very slowly and very gently. Feel what is happening in your pelvis, in your shoulders, and in your head. Very slowly shift your weight towards the back of your heels and feel what's happening in your pelvis. Is there a movement in your pelvis? Can you feel what's happening in your shoulders and in the positioning of your head in relation to your neck and the rest of your spine? And continue doing that in your own time, very slowly, very gently, as you are shifting your weight towards your toes. This is a backwards direction in your spine. And then as you are transferring very slowly, bringing your weight more towards the back of your heels, you may actually feel yourself curling in slightly, a little bit on yourself. Your spine is moving in a forwards direction. And feel that once or twice more, making the movement smaller, slowly and gently, until you come back to where you feel most balanced. And has that changed in any way? Slowly transfer your weight over. You're leaning slightly over to your left, and you may be feeling more weight in your left foot relative to your right foot. Slowly feel your weight shifting as you transfer your weight over to your right foot more, and you may feel a slight leaning over to your right. And do that once more, very slowly, making the movement smaller this time, so that you can actually feel your weight clearly in your left foot. You may feel it in other parts of you. You're gathering information about yourself. And then bring yourself back to where you feel most equilibrium. Bring your left foot slightly further forward relative to your right foot. And you're feeling your weight now on your front left foot more than on your back foot, which is, you may be feeling that weight more towards your toes on your back foot. And then very slowly transfer your weight more to your back foot and leg. Feel where else you are moving to keep you balanced in this movement. Very slowly now transferring your weight to your front foot, your front leg. You may feel it into your left hip bone and into your spine, and slowly transfer your weight to your back foot. And this time, as you are transferring your weight to your front leg and your front foot, lead the movement with the right side of your pelvis. So it's your right hemipelvis that's bringing you forward in a forwards movement, but it's not only forwards, it's also in a little bit towards your midline, where your spine is, just very slightly, and you're feeling more weight in your front foot, and then just come back to your back foot again, and just do that once more, leading with the right side of your pelvis. This is a very powerful movement. And then come back to bringing your left foot alongside your right foot, and spend a few moments feeling your balance and your equilibrium, and whether that's changed slightly. Now bring your right foot forward. Feel your weight in your front right foot and leg, and then slowly bring your weight backwards towards your back left foot and forwards again to your front right foot, very slowly. And then the next time you are bringing your weight more towards your front right foot, lead with your left side of your pelvis, your left hemipelvis. And this time, do you notice that lovely, beautiful twisting feeling in perhaps in your waist, your back, and into your spine? And this is a rotational movement. And we're going to be exploring this movement lying down, and then slowly come back, bringing your right foot alongside your left foot once more, and feel your equilibrium, feel your balance. You are upright, your center of gravity is high. And as you've been stepping forwards with one foot and then the other, your center of gravity has been slightly changing. And so we've been exploring that rotation side to side as you are transferring your weight from one foot to the other. That's the side to side movement of your spine, and also the forwards and the backwards direction of movement in your spine. And with this awareness, come down to lying on the floor, on your back. And as you are coming to lying down, spend a few moments making yourself comfortable, giving yourself support underneath your head, your shoulders, the underside of your pelvis in particular. And as you're coming to lying down, your center of gravity is much lower. This is a stable balance that you're in. And as you are lying down, your brain isn't so preoccupied with feeling, with balancing and countering the downward pull of gravity. So as you are lying, you can actually feel small differences in the movements that you're making. A little bit more, and we're going to be making these movements very slowly. And you may like to rest your knees together if that's more comfortable for you. And as you are lying, bring your attention to how the underside of your skull is making contact with the ground. Where do you feel your weight? On the underside of your shoulder blades and on the underside of your pelvis. And you can trace your midline from the top of your head down the front to your sternum and down to your pubic bone and around to your tailbone and up to the top of the back of your head. And your midline goes through you, through where your spine is. And where do you feel your weight either side of that central line? Begin by very slowly and very gently lifting your waistline area slightly further away from the floor, and then very slowly letting that come back. It's a very, very small movement. And then bring your waistline slightly closer to the floor so that you're feeling the movement in your pelvis going in the other direction. And then very slowly come out of that movement and just rest for a moment. And now bring your attention to your left foot and slide your left foot in the direction of your sitting bones. And stand your foot on the floor, raising your left knee in the direction of the ceiling. And now bring your attention to your right foot, sliding it towards your sitting bones, raising your right knee in the direction of the ceiling, and standing your right foot on the floor. And go into those same movements, beginning by very slowly and gently lifting your waistline area slightly further away from the floor, and then just letting that come back. It's a very small movement. And go into that movement a few more times. You are lifting your waistline slightly further away from the floor. You may feel your lower back area arching a little bit and your pelvis moving in the direction of your tailbone. Slowly release out of that. And going with your own rhythm, go into that movement again. Lift your waistline. You may feel that you're taking a lovely breath in, inflating your belly and rolling in the direction of your tailbone. You are contracting your extensor muscles that run either side of your spine, and slowly release out of your arch. And go into that once more. Slowly, very gently lift your waistline area, roll in the direction of your tailbone, and then release out of that. And then just come to a rest for a moment. And you may like to rest with your knees resting against each other or with your legs long along the floor. So this is the movement in your spine, that it's that backwards movement of your spine that you were exploring as you were standing, as you were bringing your weight more in the direction of your toes. So let's go into those movements, but in bringing your pelvis in the other direction. So as you are, if your legs have been long, as you've been resting, raise each of your knees back in the direction of the ceiling one at a time, sliding your feet. And this time, as you are bringing your waistline slightly closer to the floor. And feel the direction of your movement of your pelvis. You may feel that your pelvis is making an increased contact with the floor, and then slowly release out of that. And then go into that a few more times, feeling how, as you are finding your exhalation, the air is coming out of your lungs. You are feeling that your waistline area, and your waistline area is that area between the lower border of your ribs and the upper border of your pelvis. And you're bringing that area, it's that area in between slightly closer to the floor, and then release out of that. And as you do that movement a few more times, feel how you are perhaps retracting in your ribs a little bit more, and the distance between your pubic bone and your lower ribs gets smaller. And release out of that, and this time continue on. You are bringing your waistline slightly further away from the floor, rolling in the direction of your tailbone. Release out of that and bring your waistline closer to the floor. And you are exploring that balance between your abdominal muscles of your front and your extensor muscles of your back. And as you continue with that movement, you're taking a lovely breath in, inflating your belly, arching in your back ever so slightly, rolling in the direction of your tailbone. As you release out of that, you are finding your exhalation, bringing your waistline slightly closer to the floor. Feel how your ribs are retracting slightly. And then complete the one that you're on and stop and rest. And you may like to exaggerate this movement a little bit more by bringing your hands behind your head. If that's comfortable for you, your elbows are out to your sides and your hands are clasped underneath your head and behind your head. And very slowly and very gently begin by lifting your waistline slightly further away from the floor, rolling in the direction of your tailbone. And you're arching in your back, you're contracting those muscles of your back. Slowly release out of that. Bring your waistline closer to the floor, and at the same time, bring your elbows in the direction of each other, and you're lifting your head ever so slightly if that's comfortable for you, and looking down towards your pubic bone. Feel that increased contact of your spine with the floor. Slowly, you are in control of this movement. Feel your inhalation, the air is coming back into your lungs, you're opening in your front as you roll in the direction of your tailbone. And then go into that once more, very slowly, as you're bringing your waistline closer to the floor, you're finding your exhalation, your elbows are coming in the direction of each other, and you are looking down in the direction of your pubic bone. Feel your abdominal muscles contracting, and at the same time you are lengthening your extensor muscles of your back, and slowly release out of that. Allow your arms to release by your sides and rest. Feel your internal sensations from those movements. You have been exploring that forwards and backwards direction of movement in your spine. Slowly roll over onto your front, and keeping your head in contact with the floor, roll over softly and gently, and give yourself some support. You may like to place some extra support underneath your head and possibly underneath the fronts of your ankles as you roll over onto your front. And if this movement isn't comfortable for you, you can do these movements lying on your back also. As you are lying on your front, find a comfortable position for you, your hands at either side of your head, and you may feel the front of your hip bones protruding into the floor. And bring your attention to the left side of your pelvis. Very slowly bring the left side of your pelvis up in the direction of your left armpit. It's a very small movement, and very slowly allow that to release. And go into that movement once more. Bring the left side of your pelvis in the direction of your left armpit. You may feel a slight shortening, a squeezing in your left waist, and then slowly allow yourself to come out of that movement and rest for a moment. Bring your attention to your right side of your pelvis, and this time bring the right side of your pelvis up in the direction of your right armpit. Slowly release out of that. And rest. And go into that movement again. This time making the movement smaller and slower, bringing the right side of your pelvis up in the direction of your right armpit. Slowly release. And go into that movement alternating. Bring the left side of your pelvis in the direction of your left armpit. Feel the squeezing in on your left side. Slowly release out of that. And then bring the right side of your pelvis in the direction of your right armpit. Slowly release out of that. And make those movements once more. You may be feeling that you are shortening in one side and lengthening in the other. You may feel these movements in other parts of you. You may feel that there's changes of position of your legs as you are making this movement, and make the movement familiar to you, and then stop and rest. You have been exploring that side to side movement in your spine, lying on your front. And we're now going to explore the rotation in your spine. Bring your attention to your left hip bone and bring your left hip bone slightly more towards the floor, and also in towards your midline a little bit. And then slowly let it release. You may feel how your right side of your pelvis was coming away from the floor more. And then as you're releasing, you may feel that movement in your pelvis as you come out of the movement. And then go into that once more. Slowly bring the left side of your pelvis more in the direction of the floor. You may feel the right side of your pelvis moving away from the floor more, and at the same time bring the left side of your pelvis more in towards your midline, and then very slowly release out of that. And rest for a moment, feeling your internal sensations from those movements. bring your attention to the right side of your pelvis and begin by bringing the right side of your pelvis more in the direction of the floor and slightly in towards your midline. You may feel the left side of your pelvis coming away from the floor more slightly, and then slowly release out of that. And go into that movement once more with the right side of your pelvis. Bring it more in the direction of the floor and in towards your midline. You may feel that the left side of your pelvis is coming away from the floor more. And then allow that to come back as you come out of the movement. And alternate that movement. Begin with the left side of your pelvis, bring it in towards the floor more and turning in slightly towards your midline. Slowly release out of that. And then with the right side of your pelvis, bring it more towards the floor and in towards your midline. And release out of that. Slowly. And go into that once more with the left side of your pelvis and with the right side of your pelvis. You are exploring, as you are lying on your front, that rotation in your spine. You're feeling that movement of your pelvis. And we're now going to bring those two movements together. And begin by turning your head very gently to your right arm and your right hand. Your right arm is bent at your elbow and your right hand is near your head. Your left arm is long down your side. And we're going to bring those two movements together, beginning with the right side of your pelvis. And this may be easier for you to perhaps start with bringing your hip up in the direction of your armpit, or it may be easier for you to begin by bringing the right side, your right hip bone closer to the floor and in a little bit. It's whatever's most comfortable for you. You are going to be bringing the right side of your pelvis up in the direction of your right armpit, and at the same time, you're bringing the right side of your pelvis in towards the floor and in the direction of your midline a little bit. You're bringing those two movements together and slowly release out of that movement and rest. And go into that once more. Bring the right side of your pelvis up towards your right armpit. Bring the right side of your pelvis in towards the floor more and in towards your midline. And this time, do you feel what's happening in your left leg as you're doing this movement? Is it easier for you to hike your hip, or is it easier for you to bring your pelvis in towards the floor and in towards your midline? Release out of that very slowly and rest. This time, lead the movement with your left leg. And as you are saying to yourself, you may like to motor plan this movement and say, what am I going to feel as I lengthen my left leg along the floor away from me? And as I'm going to bring my right arm, my right elbow, and my right hand away from the floor, What am I going to feel in my pelvis? And go into that movement. Begin by lengthening your left leg along the floor away from you. And at the same time, you may actually begin to feel that your right pelvis is coming up towards your armpit and that it's going in more towards the floor. And lift your left leg, your right arm, your right elbow, your right hand, and your head, and feel the lift. Allow your leg to clear into the air, and from there slowly release out of that movement with infinite slowness. And as the front of your left thigh begins to make contact with the floor, feel what's beginning to release in your pelvis. Feel the movement of your pelvis away from your armpit on your right side. Feel a rolling of your pelvis onto your left side a little bit as you come back down and rest. You are developing an internal sense of your movement. You are noticing subtle differences in your movements, and you are learning to make the least possible effort. Let's go into that movement once more. This time, feeling the movement more than actually making the movement. You're concentrating on a picture of the movement within you. And when you have it, go as if you're going into the movement, but this time don't actually clear into the air. You're lengthening in your left leg along the floor. The right side of your pelvis is moving in the direction of your right armpit. It's also moving into the floor more. And then simultaneously build that picture of possibly lifting your right arm, your right elbow, your right hand, and your head, but not actually lifting. Feel the movement, and then slowly, with infinite slowness, come out of that movement, feeling what's happening in your pelvis, what's happening in your spine, and rest. Feel your internal sensations from those movements. You are bringing together a sideways movement of your spine and a rotation movement of your spine and a forwards and a backwards movement of your spine, except you may be feeling it slightly differently lying down as compared to when you were standing up and relative to when you were lying on your back. And by moving very, very slowly and gently, you are creating new patterns of movement. Let's go into those movements the other way. As you are, begin by bringing your left arm up closer to your head and supporting you very carefully as you move your head. You may like to nod your head slightly towards your breastbone and away from your breastbone slightly as you turn your head to your left. Your left arm is bent at your elbow. Your left hand is near your head. You're turning to your left. Your right arm is down your side. And let's bring those movements together on the other side, very slowly and gently. And it may feel different the other side. You may need to make some adjustments, and it's interesting to know whether it's going to be easier for you or perhaps not quite so easy the other way. So go into that movement, bring your left side of your pelvis in the direction of your left armpit and further in towards the floor and towards your midline. And then slowly come out of that movement. You may already be noticing that your right leg is lengthening slightly along the floor away from you. And this time, lead the movement from your right leg, lengthening your right leg away from you along the floor. You may feel your left pelvis coming up in the direction of your left armpit, and the left side of your pelvis moving in more towards the floor and in towards your midline. And then just let that release very slowly, very gently. And rest for a moment. And bring those movements together. You're going to be lifting your head, your left arm, left elbow, left hand. You're also going to be lengthening your right leg along the floor and allow your right leg to lift, simultaneously lifting your right leg, your left arm, and your head. And very slowly, with infinite slowness, come out of that movement. And this time, go into that movement. Give yourself a picture of that movement. You're previewing your sensations of your movement, and only make a very slight, as if you're going to go into that movement, so that you're feeling it more than you're actually making the move. You're not actually clearing into the air. And then as you come out of that movement, feel what's happening in your pelvis. Feel what's happening in the front of your thigh, in your leg, in your head. And then just slowly relax and rest. Spend a few moments feeling your internal sensations from those movements. You have been exploring the forwards and backwards, the side to side, and the rotation of your spine lying down on your front. And that movement of bringing your pelvis, one side of your pelvis, in the direction of your armpit and in the direction of the floor more and in towards your midline, is the same movement that you made as you were standing. And it may actually feel quite different for you as you're lying on your front. Bring both of your hands so that they're supporting either side of your head as you slowly and gently, maintaining the contact of your head with the floor as much as you can, roll over onto your back. And as you roll over onto your back, allow your knees to be raised in the direction of the ceiling and your feet standing on the floor. You may like to make a few adjustments so that you're comfortable as you come to lying on your back once more. And go into those very soft, gentle movements by and very, very small movement, because you have been contracting your muscles either side of your spine. And by rolling over onto your back once more, you are making that same movement by very gently bringing your waistline slightly further away from the floor, rolling in the direction of your tailbone. And then as you release out of that, very slowly and very gently bring your waistline slightly closer to the floor. It's a very, very soft, it's a very gentle movement. And just do that once or twice more. In your own rhythm, feeling as you're taking a lovely breath in, you're inflating your belly. And this time, bring your right hand behind your head, and you're going to be suspending your left knee over your belly and over your chest. And as you are going to be bringing your right elbow in the direction of your left knee and lifting your head slightly, bring your focus to your right shoulder and your left hip bone. So as you are finding your exhalation, bringing your waistline closer to the floor, bring your right shoulder, your right hand is behind your head. You're bringing your focus to your right shoulder in the direction of your left hip bone. As you're bringing your knee over your chest, and then very slowly, with all of your control, come out of that movement so that your head and your left foot simultaneously reach the floor. And bring your waistline slightly further away from the floor, rolling in the direction of your tailbone. As you are releasing out of that, coordinate the movement. You're bringing your waistline closer to the floor. Bring your attention to your right shoulder, coming in the direction of your left hip bone. Your right elbow is following, and your left knee is coming over your chest and over your belly. And then very slowly come out of that movement. And change over your hands so that your left hand is behind your head. You're tracing this movement, although you are bringing your left elbow up, you're lifting your head, your right knee is coming over your chest and over your belly. Bring your attention to your left shoulder, moving in the direction of the right side of your pelvis, your right side of your pelvis moving in the direction of your left shoulder. Slowly come out of that movement so that your head and your right foot simultaneously reach the floor. And in the rhythm of your movement, go into that once more, bringing your focus to your left shoulder and your right hip bone. And then very slowly release out of that movement and rest. You may like to rest your legs long, or you may like to rest your knees together. It's whatever is the most comfortable for you. You are becoming more aware of your internal sensations. Bring your attention to your right hip bone, the right side of your pelvis, and bring the right side of your pelvis in the direction of your right armpit. You may feel your right waist squeezing in and your left waist opening up slightly, and slowly, very slowly, release out of that movement. And go into that once more. Slowly and gently bring the right side of your pelvis in the direction of your right armpit. And very slowly come out of that movement and rest. You are becoming familiar with the lengthening of one side and the shortening of your other side. And this is you exploring that side to side movement in your spine. Bring your attention now to your left hip bone, the left side of your pelvis. Bring the left side of your pelvis in the direction of your left armpit. Feel your left ribs squeezing in slightly, and very slowly release out of that movement and rest. Is it easier for you, perhaps, to tighten your left side relative to your right side? Do you perhaps not feel as much in your left as you do in your right? Perhaps you have more of a jerky sensation when you release out of that movement on your left side relative to your right side. This is all interesting information that you're gathering about yourself. And go into that movement once more, very slowly. You may like to make the movement smaller. Bring the left side of your pelvis in the direction of your left armpit. With infinite slowness, come out of that movement. Feel what's happening in your waist. Feel what's happening in your pelvis. And as you come out of that movement, bring your attention to the left side of your pelvis and bring the left side of your pelvis in the direction of your armpit. And slowly release out of that and alternate that movement so that it becomes familiar to you. You are bringing one side of your pelvis in the direction of your armpit on the same side, and then releasing out of that very slowly and very gently, and then bringing the other side of your pelvis in the direction of your armpit on the same side. And you're feeling that squeezing in on one side and lengthening on the other. And this is the same movement that you made as you were transferring your weight, as you were standing from one leg to the other. It may feel slightly different to you as you're lying down on your back, and it may also feel different to when you made this same movement as you were lying on your front. And then stop and rest. And this movement is a very interesting movement of your pelvis. And we're going to be exploring this more as we come back up to standing. And now bring each foot, sliding each foot in turn, maintaining the contact of your heel with the floor in the direction of your sitting bones, raising your knee in the direction of the ceiling and standing your foot on the floor. And do that with your other foot, one at a time. so that both knees are raised towards the ceiling, both feet standing on the floor. Bring your attention to the right side of your pelvis. Very slowly, bring the right side of your pelvis further away from the floor. You're lifting the right side of your pelvis. You may feel your weight rolling to the left side of your pelvis. And at the same time as you're lifting the right side of your pelvis, your right knee is moving ahead of you and towards the wall in front of you. You're keeping your right foot and your left foot, both of them in contact with the floor, and then slowly release out of that. And then go into that movement again. Lift the right side of your pelvis away from the floor more. At the same time, your right knee is moving ahead and away from you in the direction of the wall in front of you. At the same time, you may feel your weight rolling onto the left side of your pelvis. Slowly release out of that. And go into that once more. You're lifting the right side of your pelvis. Your right knee is moving ahead of you, and your weight is transferring over to the left side of your pelvis. Slowly come out of that movement and rest for a moment. Bring your attention to the left side of your pelvis. Lift the left side of your pelvis further away from the floor. At the same time, your left knee is moving ahead of you, away from you, in the direction of the wall in front of you, and your weight is transferring over to the right side of your pelvis. And slowly release out of that. And go into that movement twice more. And feel how, as the left side of your pelvis lifts up away from the floor, the right side of your pelvis feels more weight. And this is the same movement that you did lying on your front. You're feeling that transfer of weight from one side of your pelvis to the other side of your pelvis. And feel how your knee is moving away from you, ahead of you. And then slowly come back. And now alternate that movement. Go slowly and rhythmically. Begin by lifting the right side of your pelvis away from the floor. Your right knee moves ahead of you and in front of you. Slowly allow the right side of your pelvis to come back, and this time bring the left side of your pelvis away from the floor more. Feel your weight rolling onto the other side of your pelvis, and your left knee is now moving ahead of you. And make that movement soft and easy, and use the least possible effort. This is a beautiful movement of your pelvis, and it's a horizontal movement in your pelvis. And feel that lovely transfer of your weight, that lovely rolling feeling in your pelvis. And then complete the one that you're on and stop and rest. And lengthen your legs long along the floor and feel your internal sensations from those movements. Where do you feel your weight on the back of your skull? your shoulder blades, and your pelvis, and your backs of your heels as they are making contact with the floor. And is this any different to how it felt at the beginning of this session? Very slowly and gently roll over, maintaining the contact of your head with the floor as long as you can. Roll over onto your side, and you may like to pause a little bit and bring yourself up to standing. It may be that you need to take a little bit more time as you come to standing. You have been lengthening certain muscles, and there's always a period of readjustment as you have been working on the floor for when you come back up to standing. And as you are standing, this is giving you the feel for how upright you can become. Feel how your feet are making contact with the floor. Very slowly bring your weight in the direction of your toes. Feel that backwards movement in your spine. Slowly bring your weight more in the direction of the back of your heels, and feel that forwards movement in your spine. Where are you feeling that? Are you feeling it in your pelvis, your shoulders, in the position of your head, relative to your neck and to the rest of your spine? And make the movement smaller and smaller until you feel most equilibrium, most balance. Transfer your weight over onto your left foot, your left leg, and into your left hip and into your spine. Allow yourself to take the weight more, allowing your right leg to relax and to bend at the knee. Slowly shift your weight over, transferring your weight over into your right foot, your right leg, and your right hemipelvis, and into your spine, allowing your left leg to relax and bend at the knee. And do that movement again, slowly shifting your weight. Feel how your weight is shifting. Feel the information that you're gathering from your feet. Feel the transfer of weight into your left leg, your left side of your pelvis, and into your lower vertebra. And do the same again with your right leg, transferring as much weight as is comfortable for you, feeling that movement in your pelvis. And as you have all your weight in your right leg, and you may be feeling that direction of the right side of your pelvis up in the direction of your right armpit that we were exploring lying down. And this is a vertical movement of your pelvis. And feel that the other side. Transfer your weight again over to your left foot, your left leg, and into your left pelvis. Feel how your left waist is squeezing, and you're feeling that vertical movement, that your left side of your pelvis is moving in the direction of your left armpit. And now take a step forward, leading with the right side of your pelvis. So having your weight over into your left foot and leg, lead the movement, taking a step forward with your right leg, with your right hemipelvis. Place your right foot in front of you. You now have your weight on your front right leg, your front foot, your left foot behind you. You may feel your weight on more towards your toes and the pads of your feet. Beginning with your left hemipelvis, lead the movement. It's a very powerful movement as you take a step forward with your left foot and place your left foot in front of you, and your right leg is behind you, your knees bent, and your weight is more on the front pads of your feet, of your back foot. And feel the movement of your pelvis. Feel leading with the right side of your pelvis. You may actually feel that your right shoulder is also moving back slightly. Feel that beautiful twist as you take a step forwards with your right leg, and you may like to speed it up a little bit now. Feel that beautiful twisting movement. You are bringing together the vertical movement and the horizontal movement. And you'll be feeling that as a beautiful swing, a beautiful circularity in your pelvis. And you may like to take bigger steps. You may like to alter your pace. As you are walking, you are benefiting from this beautiful self-knowledge of balance. You are displacing your balance as you are taking a step forward. You're displacing your balance, and then you are finding it again. You are restoring your balance in the process of walking as you take a step forwards each time. Feel that beautiful circularity in your pelvis. Feel how you are placing your feet and where your head is in relation to the rest of your spine. In this month's session, you have been exploring how the positioning of your feet, the movement in your feet, in your pelvis, and in your head are enabling you to walk freely and easily and with the least possible effort. And with this awareness, walk into the rest of the day. And thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen.